Welcome back, Red Eyes members. We are continuing our interesting discussion with Art Rosengarten about the tarot, psychology, archetypes, and the transition into the new, or the unconditioned, as Art mentioned in the first segment. I want to talk a little bit more about 9 now. Art, you mentioned numerology before. You mentioned the matrix of the 9 paths, and of course your new deck is featured around the 9. And this is a number that definitely have been coming up. I've been keeping an eye on this as well. It seems to be primarily in the context of different esoteric areas that this comes up, and I certainly have my own kind of interpretation and ideas about this. But I want to hear about you. What do you consider to be so important with 9, or what does it represent to you?
9 is a magical number, and it symbolizes the completion of the spiritual man, whereas from a numerological standpoint, 7, one could say, symbolizes the completion of the material man. In the Tarot of the 9 Paths, in the lexicon that comes in a book that comes with the deck,
Mm-hmm.
this is some of what some of the words that I have used to describe the 9, which is a very remarkable symbol. Wisdom and tenacity in the pursuit of true self. Individuation, the process by which a person becomes a psychological individual. That's Jung. Self-realization, fierce independence, a master of the invisible, philosopher, artist, cares little for outside approval, values aloneness, independence, and finally, as the Buddha instructed for all travelers, he seeks his own salvation with diligence. That is all describing basically the symbolism of the number 9 as it is manifest in tarot, in the tarot card, the Hermit.
Yes.
Now, this is the thing about the Hermit archetype is, one, it's been very much misunderstood in our modern culture and associated with its shadow side, which is, to be an isolate, to be a loner, to be, or else it's kind of fairy tale side of the kind of old man out in the woods in a cabin being a hermit. But what the hermit, what I guess is not correctly understood about this universal symbol is it really is the energy of the individual pursuing meaning and their own path in a very tenacious way. And so this deck that I really came out of my vision and study of the magical properties of 9 is completely based on both the symbolism and the numerology of 9-ness.
Mm.
Now, 9, as when you look at as a number, 9 is unique in that any number multiplied by 9 reduces to 9 again.
Yes.
Right? So
Yep.
you multiply 3 times 9, you have 27, then you add across in what's called mystic addition, 2 plus 7, and it comes back to 9.
Yes.
Now, the amazing thing about that is it continues with virtually all numbers. For instance, if we were to look at the number of genes in the estimated in the human genome, 62,598. If you were to take that long number, or virtually any number, and break that and multiply it by 9, in this case, I've already done it, so I know that the answer is 563,382, this long number. Now, if you were to add those numbers across, 5 plus 6, etc., it again would end in 9. That's interesting. Second thing about 9 is when it's added to any of the primary digits, numeric reduction restores the original number. So you add 1 plus 9, you get 10. Now, if you add that 10 across, 1, 0, it comes back to where you started, the 1. 2 plus 9, 11, then you have 1, 1, goes back to the 2, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The conclusion is that I've made in this work magic of nine, um, in primary matters, something behaves like a nothing. Through increase, one actually paradoxically returns to essence. And three, expansion occurs with retention of root value or origins. Now, these are kind of summary statements of what happens metaphysically and mathematically when you move into nineness and you start empowering anything with this kind of unique magical symbol. That's what the Tarot of the Nine Paths is completely based on. It's bringing the what I call the hermit effect into each of the 22 plus 5 or 27 trump cards of the tarot and empowering them or hermetizing them with these magical properties.
Hmm. And before you mentioned some of the properties, I guess, of the hermit. Would you say that these are important properties in regards to where we're going, and where, again, you mentioned this before about the moving into the unconditioned in that sense, and what I get from that is this idea about you don't actually, doesn't mean that you're mean or not considerate of other people and so forth, but you really don't care in that sense about what other people think of you. You follow your own path no matter what, and you dare to go your own road, right?
Exactly correct. And the reason why, as you say, this is important at this time is it embodies the energy that faces these powerful collective energies, like you mentioned in Sweden, and we have them everywhere, from the perspective of the individual, and basically empowers the individual to walk their own true path right through these powerful collective archetypal energies, if that's where they go, without needing the approval or the collective support, but empowered to do their own thing, so to speak, to self-actualize. Now, it takes a lot of determination and just force of will to move through culture and all the collective forces with that kind of directiveness of the hermit. Now, in that service, I think the conclusion, and certainly in the tarot, it goes well beyond the hermit. That is more the vehicle. But the ultimate, I think, destination is beyond tarot. It's the unconditioned. And that is very much like pure being, it's been called. Or, in the Eastern states, they speak of liberation or enlightenment. Mm-hmm. That is kind of the goal, where it's an open and pure space where there is no conditioning. There just is, if you will. So it's really, in the popular culture, it's now being referred to as the power of now, and I agree. I think it's that energy. Now, the hermit and some of these other archetypes can be used by we travelers who are trying to kind of figure it out in our lives. These symbols can be used to help us go down true paths in our lives beyond the resistance of the collective. And so, yeah, I guess that's a long way of answering your question.
You mentioned collective archetypal energies. Is there a specific archetype that you can mention, or even an archetype that have gotten a certain god or goddess associated with them that you can mention? And who would these be?
Well, certainly, each of these tarot cards are certainly associated with a zodiacal, astrological energy that manifests in different religious systems. But in terms of gods and goddesses, some are, for instance, say the Empress energy is like Aphrodite, or could be Mary, Mother Mary, or Tara, or Kuan Yin. It carries the deep archetypal mother goddess energy. Each one of the tarot cards is associated with certain, various religions emphasize some or others of these archetypes. I don't know if that answers your question there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, absolutely. It's interesting, and in that regard, would you say, when we think of Mother Mary, then from the Western world perspective again, Catholicism, has this been, in your eyes, representing this collective force of grouping everyone together in the sense, and it's very goes against the idea of the hermit? Would you say that that's the idea?
Well, yeah, that may be so. I think that when you first asked the question, the card that to me seemed, certainly in America, but I think maybe in the whole Western world, the card that seemed to be the eclipsing card of our time was the Tower card.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly with 9/11 and the consciousness of that really has sprung ever since this century, has been a kind of a response to, the actual World Trade Center catastrophe was, it was just, and if you look at the Tarot's Tower card, it actually was a literal enactment of the symbolism of this very dramatic card.
Yes.
And so we live in a post-Tower period, if you will, on that level. And the thing about the Tower card, which is one of the, people would say is one of the difficult cards of the major arcana, that along with, say, Death and the Devil card and a few others. But each card has a positive and negative aspect, and so does the Tower. Now, the Tower card in the Tarot, it certainly is an archetype of the destructive qualities, but also there are some really important lessons in the Tower, and mostly they're symbolized by the lightning in the lightning-struck Tower, and the lightning bolt that is going into the structure or the tower. You could say the ivory tower of our kind of unconscious modern lifestyle was getting pummeled by this lightning bolt. And you talk about Thor and the power of the Vajra lightning bolt. That is can be interpreted certainly as a symbol of laser light awareness, or intense mind.
Yeah.
So in the Tower card, the teaching is to react instantaneously, immediately, like a lightning bolt, to this this ultimate catastrophic condition where you are crumbling from the inside and being attacked from the outside. And the result is the lightning bolt is getting out of the Tower immediately to safe ground. Now, that's very transformational. It's very